What is going on, guys? Matokano here, and today we are going to talk about the Sony A7R II. Check it out. So the Sony A7R Mark II has been out now for a couple of years, and within those couple of years there's been tons of new cameras. There's definitely a lot of options out there when you're looking for a more higher level camera. And I know that there's some of you that might be looking at these Mark IIs and wondering, what are the pros and cons and whether or not it's worthy of your money. And so I wanted to make this video to kind of share my thoughts to all of you, and obviously show some of the work that I've done and my experience with this. So one of the main things about the Sony A7R Mark II is that it is a great hybrid camera. It has a high megapixel, full frame sensor, 42 megapixels. It really help out a lot in terms of cropping, in terms of really pushing the files. Sony really packed in a lot of power in this thing. And with that 42 megapixel, you're really gonna end up doing a lot of really cool things in post. And there's tons of flexibility. And even for me, I've shot tons and tons of different kinds of photos, and it's worked every time. I mean, the file sizes are huge, but 42 megapixel, even in today's standard, is still quite a lot. And the fact that it can shoot 4K internally is pretty much a very good thing to have, for a lot of people out there who are looking into more videography. In terms of video, you have the option to also change a lot of the profile settings for your color. And what's cool is that it comes with S-Log, it comes with Cine. There's really a lot of flexibility and customization that you can do depending on the workflow that you have. And so really in terms of that aspect, it pretty much covers everything that you'll need. Now you can shoot also high frame rates, 60 frames per second, but the thing is that is only up to 1080. It doesn't go 120, but for me personally, 60 frames per second is totally usable, and it's more than enough for what I do. So another great thing about this camera is that it has IBIS, and for me, I like to shoot run and gun, and for those out there who are run and gun shooters, of course, that will help out a lot. One other great thing about this is that it is very rugged. It's definitely well built, and I've certainly dropped mine a couple times, and it has a lot of scratches already, a lot of bangs, but it's totally fine, and it works perfectly. And also a great thing about this camera is that it has a super clear EVF. Certainly the EVF on a lot of newer ones is a lot better, but with this particular generation, it's still very clear. It's awesome. You could really see how your photo is going to look like even before you take the photo, which is awesome. And so really with the EVF, it tells all of the information that you need, and I think in terms of really working with mirrorless cameras, I think it's a great introduction to the platform, and the EVF works extremely well. So we've talked about a lot of the good things of the camera. Now we get into the more cons of the Mark II. And so one of the main things that I will have to point out is the battery life. It's not really that good. They have addressed this in the newer cameras, but if you are looking at getting this, I advise you to get a lot of the NPF W50s on this. And I carry about 4 with me all the time. When shooting video, I will tell you, I have not gone on a full day of shoot with just those 4 batteries. When you're shooting stills, you can get away with it, but do keep in mind that it really does eat up a lot of battery, and it really is one of those things that it falls on. So another thing about this camera is that it's not very good in low light when you're shooting video. When you go past 1600 ISO, you can really tell the digital noise. And so, it's just one of those cameras that it might be a great hybrid camera, but it's definitely not an A7S II or A7S III. So keep that in mind if you are shooting in less controlled, lighting situations. If it's extremely dark, that it will struggle a little bit in terms of low light. I mean, unless of course you put in a very fast lens on it, then you can get away with it. Speaking of low light as well, the EVF is not very good, when it's pitch black out, of course, but obviously when there's very little light, it will struggle a little bit, and it can be very difficult to find focus or find what you're really trying to shoot for when there's not a lot of light. Another thing about this camera is the UI sucks. It's hard to find the things that you need, and it's certainly a very unintuitive system. It definitely falls behind a lot of the competitors. Another thing is that the touchscreen, it is non-existent in this camera. It is not a touchscreen, and it really, I mean, if you're vlogging, unfortunately, it does not fold out. So, you know, that's one of the things that is kind of like, yeah, they should have added that, but yeah, it does not have it. And the last thing about this camera that's a bit of a con is the fact that it does not have dual card slots. It is only a single slot SD card, and of course it would have been nice to have that feature of having dual card slots, but unfortunately that's just not something that they implemented on this camera. So that's about it for the Sony A7R Mark II. I will probably be keeping mine for another year or two before even upgrading. It really is just one of those cameras. You know, the feature it has still holds up today, and for my own applications and for what I do, it's perfect. I hope this video helps you out, and it tells you a little bit more about the camera and helps you decide whether or not this is a camera that you might pass on or you might potentially see yourself buying. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video. Comment down below if I missed anything. Comment your suggestions and feedback. I would really appreciate it. And thanks for the time that you guys are here. So, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.